Okay, got a 2009 Chevy Malibu. We are going to be replacing the electric steering motor. I've seen a lot of videos out there on the internet, none of them really too detailed, so I'm going to try and do a little better job explaining to the first timers and people that might not be your everyday technicians. So first you got to do is you got to remove all these trim panel pieces. We'll be taking this trim panel piece off, this trim panel piece off, and this trim panel piece off. And what I'll do is I'll try to do like a step video where you'll see me sections of where those are just little clips that hold that on, by the way. Didn't break nothing. When you get that off, you'll see 7mm screws, a couple different places as you go through here. So what you'll see is I'll be popping these off. All of them are held on with just screws, or excuse me, not screws, but these little clips hold that on. Pull those off, get it out of the way, hand these over. Alright, so what we're going to do to get this piece off is start removing 7mm screws. They you'll see a couple of them here and here. There is some here, down here, and maybe a couple over here. I might have to take this one out, but I'm going to just pause the video while I get those out because I've only got two hands and I'm going to need them. So be back in a minute. Real quick, I didn't say that, of course I didn't know that you're going to have to pop this center console loose, because behind it there's a screw here that you're going to have to remove to get this panel off. So what I had to do is just put it in, turn the key to the on position, don't start it, no need to start it, hold the brake, pull the shifter back into low, give you some room to move this thing around, and then we'll pull that screw out and we will put it back in park and turn the key off. So wanted to give you a heads up. Okay, want to show you guys that there is a screw here. There was a screw, I already took it out, and there is one that you'll find right here as well. I already took it out. And whenever you get those screws out, you'll find some tension. There's these clips. You can see it in there. There's a clip there. There's one over here that whenever you pull down, you'll hear it pop loose. And that one pops loose. And the part that we're after is way back there. So we'll have to get some more of this stuff out of the way so we can get to it. Okay, real quick, we had to remove the other screw up here on the underneath the radio, so you could pull this forward to get the kick panel loose. And it's just some push clips that hold that thing in there. Don't know if you can see them. When you get it out on this car, it has the dome light switch. Just disconnect it right here. And you also have a push clip over here on the side holding some harnesses back. We are going to, I'm going to try to get this where you guys can see it while I do it. All I'm going to do is put that in there and just use that as leverage. Well, maybe it might be hard to do with holding the phone at the same time, but there we go. Pop that little guy out. And then you can see it literally will just fall out. Stick it off to the side. And you can get a pretty good picture of what we're after here. And we are after, man, I really thought I could get a better picture. That whole motor assembly right here. See if I can get a better shot for you. All of that motor assembly. And I don't really know if I can get in here any better, but you will see 2 screws. You can see one of them right here. The other one is right there on either side. You'll have some connectors back here. You have to remove the blue locking keeper on them, and then disconnect the pigtails, and then we'll pull these two screws out. And I think we got enough room to slide that bad boy out of there. We'll give it a shot and see what happens. And I'll be back. Before we get to that motor, underneath the kick plate is this metal piece, and I thought it might be better for the video and for me to get in there if we go ahead and remove that. So I just wanted to show you where the 4 screws are that hold that on. You don't have to take it off if you don't want to, but I'm going to. 1, because I've never done it before, and might make it easier on me, and 2, it might give you a better view of what we're doing behind it. So we'll see. Alright, so we went ahead and took that panel off, and now you can really see what we're working off. That is that's the motor right here. This area here is your what they call the torque sensor. We actually have the whole assembly to replace, but kind of for learning and just test little R&D here, we are going to start with just doing the motor part of it, and before we put the whole car back together, we're going to do the motor and test it out and see if that fixed our problem. And if not, you know, we're going to leave all this off. We'll come back and do the torque sensor, and we'll go from there. But taking that cover plate off really did give us a better view of what's going on down there. So we'll be back. Okay, I want to show you real quick on these clips on how they come out of let's see if we can get focused in on one. You'll see this blue keeper right here. See if I can get that in front of it. This blue keeper, just all it takes is just a little tweak here, not much, just a little twist, and then the connector, the keeper, you push up right here. Well, it's better with my hand. Let's see if I can get you in here a little better. Right here. Just push this up, and then the sensor comes out. So, let's see if I can get it for you. I'm not sensor, but connector. There we go. Sometimes it needs a little persuasion, but let's get a better view for you. So there is the keeper, and that's the part that you push on to release it. Okay. Just to keep you up to speed, I don't want to run through any steps without showing anything, because that's what's wrong with the other videos that I found. But you'll see the hood prop cable, or the hood release cable, runs right underneath the motor. So before I started undoing the motor, I decided to take out the release. It's just I already removed one of the screws right here, and I've already got this one loose where I can just kind of show you guys with the 2 screws. And this thing, basically it'll just come right down. So we'll be able to tuck that behind the brake pedal or whatever, just to get it out of the way of our motor. And now we've got free shot at the motor, and we can get that off now. So we'll be back. We're gonna go ahead and pull our 2 bolts right there. There's one right there, and there's one there. We're gonna go ahead and pull those now, and hopefully, if everything goes as expected, when we start this back up off of the pause, we'll have a motor in hand. So we'll see. Okay, so we got our 2 bolts out, and the motor is pretty loose, so I'm just going to it's splined, so I'm going to just walk it back and get it off of there. And oh, we forgot one, Mike. Alright, well, you can see we are going to pop loose this keeper. There we go. And there's the motor. And you can see, I don't know if you can see in there, these spline fittings right here. They go into, see if I can get the camera up in there, maybe. They go right up in there. I don't know if you can see the shaft or not, but we got the motor off. Really not too much work. I think all reality here, we might have of actual work time, we might have 30 minutes, 25-30 minutes, and that's with doing the video and everything. So we're going to get the new one unboxed, get it over here, and get it ready to go in, and we'll video that so you can see the process of it going in, and we'll pick back up with the new motor here in the car. We'll have it in the floorboard right where this one's at, so we'll see you in a minute. Alright, so there's been a change of plans. Just wanted to keep you up to speed. We decided that instead of just replacing the motor that would mount there, we are going to go ahead and pull the column and go ahead and do the torque sensor and motor all at the same time. So in order to get that out, there is, on the bottom side of the column, there's your steering column. On the bottom side of the column, there's a 13mm bolt, 13mm head bolt there. There's a 13mm head bolt right there. And then down here, there is the pinch bolt on the steering. You have to remove this pinch bolt. And over here on the side, see if I can get in a good spot for you. Over here on the side of the well, my last video chopped off, so what I was saying was we're going to go ahead and remove the steering column, and there is the other bolt that you'll have to take off right there, and that fastens onto the bottom of the column. The pinch bolt right there that I've already got loosened up, this 13mm bolt, and that 13mm bolt, and that will allow us to get the whole steering column assembly out, and we'll go from there. Alright, well, I also wanted to tell you to take the cover off of the bottom of the steering wheel. You can see I already got mine off. I jumped ahead on you, I apologize. But there's a bottom of the cover. There's 3 7mm head bolts. Just pop those off, or pull them out, and then the cover will separate and into 2 pieces. And then you can access the your harnesses up here. We're gonna have to pop those out, and the ignition switch over here. So also another important item, be sure you disconnect your battery before you start any of this. Forgot to mention that. So disconnect your battery definitely before you start any of this. And so I'm going to go ahead and disconnect these sensors, or not sensors, but connections. And then we'll go ahead and pull our bolts out, holding the column on. And then we'll get it out here on the floor. All right. Okay, so we've got all our bolts loose. Everything's loose. We got all our wires disconnected. Pulled it out of this harness holder. And in theory, we should be able to pull it out. I say that. I have fibbed before. There it is. Alright. What we're gonna do is we're going to pull this thing out, and the part that we're wanting to replace is this whole thing. You can get a better shot of where that motor was at that we pulled off that we don't need, but torque sensor right here. It's got this shaft that goes up into your steering column. We're going to get it out here on the bench and show you, but you know what, we're going to go ahead and get this out on the bench now. So we'll get it out on the bench, we'll show you how it comes apart, show you how to put the new one back together, and then we'll get it in the car. So we'll be back in a minute. We'll have this on the bench ready to show you some more. All right, real quick, here is the one that's going to go back in the car. It's the like I said, there's your torque sensor, there's your power steering motor assembly. You can see it's splined, and this will go up into our steering column. So here's the one that come off. Let's go ahead and pull that apart. There we go. So one thing we're going to check, because we don't know, is take it all the way to one side, one lock, Mike, for the alright. We're going to center up the steering wheel. You know, you only get so many turns one way. And so we got it all the way to one lock, and we're going to turn it all the way to the other lock, and we're going to count the turns in between. So there's 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. All right, so 6. I think we just broke the block. 6 turns, so we're going to go back 3 turns. All right, so get you a good starting point and go back 3 turns. There's half, 1, half, 2, half, 3. All right, so we're back to center. We got our starter motor torque assembly centered. We made sure of that before we pulled the other one apart. And I'm going to put this down so we can slide them back together. But I'll show you. You've got your spline shaft here, your female spline shaft, your male spline shaft. We're going to mate them up, slide this shaft. We're going to slide this one over there, and we'll start it back up. We'll have us an assembly to put back. Okay, so there's the assembly put back together. New motor, torque sensor, steering column. We're going to haul this back over to the car. We're going to go ahead and install the bolts here, the pinch bolt that goes here, these 2 bolts, and get it up there hanging by itself, and we'll start the video back up. But it's just the same bolts that we took out, this one, this one, this one, and the pinch bolt. We'll get it up there, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Alright, there's one thing I wanted to show. We went ahead and had to pull the motor back off. It made the installation so much easier. But what I want to show you is, let's see if I can show you. That is the back side of the bolt that, well, I'll come show you this side real quick. If you look up here, if I can get to it, that bolt right here, I don't know if you can see it, that bolt right there goes through the it goes through the torque sensor, and it comes out on this other side over here. And what you want to pay attention to is, see if I can get it in the frame here. Maybe. There you go. It comes through. There is a hole in the bracket that the bolt goes through, and you can see where the nut holds itself up in there. So make sure you put that bolt back through the bracket, and then the nut, once you get it started, it'll hold itself so you can tighten that bolt down. And we have not got the bolt back up in our pinch joint yet, but we do have the end of the steering column poked through there, and then we'll get that in there. We've got our 13 millimeter bolt heads back in there holding the steering column in. So we'll get that pinch bolt in there, and we'll have the steering column back in. We're gonna go ahead and install that starter motor back on there as well. Like I said, I don't know if you have to take it off or not, but taking it off sure did make it easier putting the steering column back together. To each his own. I'm not saying there's a right way or a wrong way, but that's the way how we did it. So we're gonna put the starter motor on, put our pinch bolt on, and get all of our connections put back together, and then I'll show you a video of that. Yeah. Okay, so we got the motor back installed. We got our pinch bolt in, and we made our connections put back on the power steering motor. So now we will reinstall the hood release lever. Like I said, it's just a couple of 10 millimeter head bolts. We'll get those put back together, and then we will make the connections up on the steering wheel. We'll get all our wires routed back over there, get those connected back in, and we'll show you the video on that. But for now, like I said, I'm just going to put these bolts in. We're going to get our wires routed back on top of our steering column and get them plugged in, and then we'll show you what we got there. But like I said, just a quick shot of what we got happening down there. So there you go. We'll be back. Okay, so we got our connectors back in. You can see we routed it through the little connector holder here, and then put it all back together. Just make sure you put the red keeper back on this one. Yellow connectors, that's going to be your airbag, so make sure you put the locking mechanism back on that. Has nothing to do with any of it, but you can see one of the other ones right here. So just a heads up. Yeah. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the bottom, well, not the bottom, the steering wheel cover on, and it'll be here. And like I said, it's in 2 pieces. Let's see if I can find it and I'll show it to you. Hey Mike, you got the steering wheel cover? The 2 pieces that were over there?
Oh yeah.
So we'll show you these pieces. Like I said, here we go. Like I said, it's 2 pieces. Super simple to understand. That's where your this slot right here is where the lever goes for the tilt on the steering wheel. The bottom, there's your 3 bolt holes. There's the top. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. The thing will fit together like this. It'll fit together like that around your steering wheel. It's 2 pieces. It'll snap together. You put your 3 7mm bolts through it. Super simple. So we're gonna do that now, and then we'll get back to you. All right, so now we've got our steering column cover put back on. Like I said, just these 3 bolts down here is all it is. And then this thing snaps together. You can see the line right here where the split is. And like I said, once you pull your bolts out down here, just you can just split that apart. It comes off. Going back together the same way, get it all lined up. It just snaps together. Put your 3 bolts in. We also went ahead and reinstalled our I guess you call it a kick shield. I'm not sure, but we got it reinstalled. Like I said, just a handful of 4 bolts. We got those put back in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start reinstalling all the plastics, and we're going to start with this main one first because it has to tuck in behind all this mess over here. And again, we'll be having to put the key in and put it into the on position, and shift the shifter back so we can get this out of the way, and then we'll get it all back together. On the panels, we'll go ahead and put the main panel in, and then we'll put the center console side panel back in. We'll get our shifter panel back in, and this side panel back together. So next shot, you'll see we'll have it all back together, and we'll give it a test. Okay, so got our, get back far enough here where you can see it. Kick panel's back on. We still got to put that piece on. What I wanted to show you was the way this whole thing goes together. Let's see if I can get in here enough for you to see it.
Yeah, you can see it right there, Bobo.
This little clip right here, you have to make sure that this panel, this tab right here, lifts up and over. It lifts up and over that section. So I don't know if you could see how that just went. And then the dash panel piece itself is the piece that is behind the radio trim. See if you can see it here. That is the dash panel that we took out, is behind it. Then your radio trim goes over that. And then to put this piece back in, you have to kind of finesse it. It's hard to do with one hand. Over and down, and it'll set on there. And over there has the same thing, but like I said, we only took the 1 screw out on that side. So we'll get what we're going to do now is we're going to put these screws back in. Then we will secure the shifter panel. We will put our side console panel back in, and we'll put the, I guess I can go ahead and clip that in now, the OBD2 connector. We'll clip that back in. It just clips in right here, real easy. And then we'll get our lower kick panel in. We'll get our side panel in. We'll get our bolts in for the end cap. Get that on there, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. So we'll be back in a moment.
Oh. Let me see that 10 millimeter. And I will do the
Okay,
battery.
so we got all of that put back together. Had to tap that shifter lever panel back in, but there you go. You can see that kick panel's back in. I missed a screw here. Forgot about that little guy, but I promise I'll get it after I quit videoing here. But all we got left to do now is plug the battery back up and give you a shot of this in here. But that's it. We'll hook the battery back up and take it for a test spin. See what goes on. Should be good to go. Hope this helps somebody. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks.